Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Howie Heckman. I'm one of the developers here at PTS. Today I'll be going through kind of a live demonstration of ClearStream RFID and how you can quickly and easily get up and running with the application and kind of show you a live demonstration of how everything works so that hopefully at the end of the webinar today you'll be able to get ClearStream up and running and see how you guys can hook up some fixed RFID readers to a pre-existing system. So with that, let me just jump into a little bit of a description of what ClearStream RFID is. Well, ClearStream RFID, it's an easy-to-use application that allows you to hook up pre-existing fixed RFID readers into a pre-existing database table or an Excel spreadsheet or even just a text file. And it kind of follows our design of our Tracer Plus mobile application where there's no programming involved with ClearStream RFID. It really is just a kind of a configuration utility that allows you to hook these fixed RFID readers up to a pre-existing system. And these fixed RFID readers, you can hook up as many as you'd like to ClearStream RFID and capture different bits of information about the tags that are read and send them to the selected destination of your tags. Okay. So with that, before I jump into the live demonstration, I would like to just mention that the demo you see today, you'll be able to kind of get everything up and running on your end if you go to our ClearStreamRFID.com website. If you go there and go ahead and request a download, you can download the application and run it in the trial mode. So if you guys have a fixed RFID reader that you maybe already have in place and you want to hook that up to a pre-existing database table, you can do everything that I show you today in trial mode using ClearStream. The only limitation there is there's a trial limit. So you have a certain number of days that you can hook up and start using the application. Okay, so that's at ClearStream RFID. Okay, and before I jump into the webinar today, at the end of the presentation, I'd just like to mention that we will have a question and answer period. So if you have any questions as I'm going through everything today, please feel free to type them into your question panel on the GoToMeeting panel, and I'll get to as many as I can. I also would like to note that today I'm going to kind of show you a sneak peek of something that we're in development here for ClearStream RFID, and I'll kind of show that at the end of the webinar and show you it's going to be an easy way for everyone to show how ClearStream RFID works, even if you don't have the hardware for a fixed RFID reader. So I'll show that at the end of the webinar today. Okay. So with that, I'm going to jump out of the PowerPoint here and actually go to ClearStream, the application. So let me go ahead and open up the application here. Okay, so this here is ClearStream RFID, and this is the home screen you'll be presented with after you download and install the application. And basically what you're doing here when you're setting this application up is you're setting a source of your tag data, and then you're selecting the destination of where that tag data is going as it's being read by these readers. So the source on the left-hand side here will be a fixed RFID reader. So in that case, you'll want to select RFID from the type drop-down. And then on the destination side, you want to select where those tags are going. And again, you have the option of an ODBC database, an Excel workbook, or just a text file. And that's just where all of the tag information is being sent as they're being read by the antennas. So for the demo today, I'm going to actually select an ODBC data source. And the one I'm going to select is actually installed with the application. It's this access database here, and it's a pre-configured access database that we just simply install with the application. And it's an easy way for you guys to get up and running and seeing how the tags read. So here, this table, you can see it's empty right now. It has no tag information. But when I power up this reader and start running, you should see the tags being populated into this access database. Okay. So to select that database, I'm simply going to select from the ODBC dropdown, and I have a number of databases on here, but I'm going to select the ClearStream RFID sample database. When you select the database, it'll populate the table dropdown with all of the tables that are available in that database. So this could be something like an Oracle database or a SQL Server database or something like that, but you'll see all of the tables, the views, as well as if you wanted to, stored procedures that are available in that database, and that's where your tag information is being sent every time they're picked up and read by one of the antennas, the readers, from a fixed RFID. So for this sample here, I'm going to go ahead and select the RFID tag list. And now this is where my tags will be sent every time they're read by the reader. Now on the left-hand side here, I need to select the reader that I'm currently using. So in my case, for the demo, I'm going to select a Motorola reader type. Okay, and when you do that, the next thing you really need to do is just enter the IP address of that fixed RFID reader. Now, generally, all of the fixed RFID readers will be hooked up on your network. They'll be assigned an IP address or a host name. And you can just go ahead, if you know it, and enter the IP address here or simply the host name. And that's selecting that particular reader to power up and start reading tags. If you don't know the IP address or the host name, maybe it was assigned via DHCP or you just don't know that information, you can actually go ahead and use this search button here that's to the right of the IP and host name. And this will actually bring up a dialog that searches across your network for the readers that you have hooked up. So if you just go ahead and hit this start here, it's actually going ahead and searching across the network and finding all of the readers that you have available. So it's a really easy way to get up and running because you don't actually have to know the IP address. You can just kind of plug all of the equipment in and you can start powering up those readers and sending the tags back to the destination. So I'm going to let this run here. This is actually searching our network. It's going to find any fixed readers we have. I think we have a number that are set up here. When this finds the readers, I'll go ahead and I'll see them in this list here. And I'll be able to select them from the list and actually just use them in our configuration. So there you can see this is actually, I think, the one that I want. So this is one of the readers on our network. I'm just going to hit cancel here. When you find the readers, you would just pick the one you'd like to use and hit the select button here. When you do that, it'll fill out your form with the reader that you actually have configured. So you can see this is a Motorola FX7400, and if it successfully connects to the reader, you'll see the reader ID appear in the this reader ID field. So I'm ready to go at this point. I really have this hooked up so that this fixed RFID reader is now going to start reading tags and sending that tag information to the destination. All right, but I also want to change a couple other things here to make it maybe a little bit more useful in our demonstration. So what I'm going to do is in the field mapping section, I just want to marry up the fields that are collected on the reader. So the fields that are collected are the tag or the EPC value, the antenna that read the tag, the signal strength from the tag, a date timestamp, a reader name, and a tag event field. And I'm going to marry those up to the fields in my destination in this ODBC access table here. So I'm just going to remove this primary key ID field. You can see what that did was it now sets 1-to-1. I have my tag, the tag ID or the EPC value is now getting sent to the tag ID field in our access database, and then you can follow down the list here. The antenna that reads the tag is being sent to the antenna field in the destination. So again, we're just marrying up the fields that are collected from the RFID to the fields in our destination table here. Okay? So at this point, I could actually go ahead and just save my configuration, and anytime I want to start testing and reading for tags, I would just go ahead and jump over to the start-stop form here and just hit start. Now what this does is it's going to power up that reader that you have configured, and it's going to start reading tags and sending that tag information to the destination. So you can see here, once the activity starts picking up and reading the tags that are in the field of view of the antenna, it's sending that information to our destination. So you can kind of see, hopefully through the GoToMeeting here, you can see the activity as it's reading tags. So I'm going to go ahead and now just hit stop to power the reader down. And I'm going to jump over to the access database. And you can see in that short period of time there that I was scanning for tags, it powered up the reader and started reading tags into our destination. Okay, so all of these tags were actually in the field of view of the antenna, and it started reading that information into this database table here, along with the date timestamp. Looks like my date time is incorrect, but it's reading those tags into that destination. It's also capturing some additional information about the tags and where they are read. So here you can see it captures the antenna that read the tag. So if you have a number of antennas hooked up to this reader, you can see which one read the tag. So if you had maybe antenna over a loading dock A versus antenna 1 over loading dock A versus antenna over loading dock B, you can see that tag and which loading dock it went through. It'll be recorded within this antenna name field in our destination. The same can go for the reader name. You can define the reader name. Right now it's just set up to the default, which is fixed RFID, but you could set the reader name as well. So let's say you had a reader in a stockroom location, you wanted to do an inventory. You could name the reader based on that stockroom location. And that information will get posted with the tags to your destination. So simply by looking at this database, you can see where that tag is because it's been updated in the application with the reader name as well as the antenna that read that tag. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and actually delete my tags here and go back and show you some of the more configuration that you can do within ClearStream to control the readers when they're reading and how they're reading the tags. Okay, so I've cleared out the database there. I'm going to go back to the configured form. Now, my configuration simply set up so that this fixed RFID reader, every time it reads a tag, it's sending that tag to the destination and appending it to the destination. But you may not want to always just read those tags and keep adding them to the database table. You may want to update the database table. In that case, on the destination side, instead of just doing the simple append, you can set it to do an update, and you can update it based on, say, the tag ID. And what this means is every time this reader picks up a tag and sends it to the destination, it's going to look for that tag in the destination and update it with the most recent information. So what that's useful for is if you wanted to keep track of where an item is, maybe on a shop floor or something like that, you can, every time it's read by a particular reader, update that tag in the database with that information. So when you look at your database, you'll see exactly where that item is. Or if it moves from maybe stockroom 1 to stockroom 2, you can keep track of that. It'll have one tag in the database so that you can see where that is and when it was last scanned. Okay. On the source side, you can also set up tag filtering. So if you wanted to filter particular tags out of the data that's coming to your destination, you can set that up as well. So maybe you only want to scan tags that start with a particular value, and you want to throw away the rest. You don't want any of those other tags sent to your destination. You can set up the source filtering on the source side here using this Options tab. Okay. You can also now control when the reader is powered up and reading tags. And to do that, you can go into this Advanced Options here, and this will actually load the configuration for the reader itself, when it's reading for tags, what the antenna names are, and things like that, and even setting up output ports so you can power up lights and buzzers and things. And you can control that all through this Advanced option within ClearStream RFID here. So up on the top, in the Scan Mode section, you can actually control when the reader is actively reading for tags. And the options you have here are for just continuous like we did before, where once you hit start, it's always scanning for tags and always sending that tag information to the destination. The other option here, you can have it a timed scan. This would allow you to power up the reader maybe once a day or something for some limited duration, and maybe scan the contents of a location, and then use that maybe for some type of inventory. You can also do a daily type scan where you're only powering up the reader maybe during business hours. So you're not kind of scanning at night when the tags aren't moving around and you don't have those readers powered up all the time. Another option here is the GPI trigger. It stands for General Purpose Input Trigger. Most readers have 1 or 2 input ports, and that allows you to hook up things like buttons or light sensors to the reader. And let's say if you hooked up a light sensor to port 1 and you wanted to scan for, say, 30 seconds after that was tripped, you could go ahead and set port 1 with a duration of 30 seconds. And now that's useful for something maybe like a portal where you don't want the reader to scan for tags if nothing's moving through that portal, but you only want to read while something's going through the portal. You would use that GPI trigger with maybe a light sensor, and you power up the reader for, say, 30 seconds. So once that's tripped, once that light sensor is tripped, it will, or the motion sensor, it will power up the reader and start scanning for tags at that point. In the antenna options here, this is where you're configuring the different antennas you have on the reader. Now, most readers will support 2, 4, 8, and sometimes more antennas hooked up to a single reader. And to kind of configure the attributes of each one of your antennas that you have hooked up, you would go ahead and add them to your list here. Now, the default you saw before, it was sending antenna 1, just that one value as the antenna name. But let's say we wanted to do something like capture whether it was in stockroom 1 versus stockroom 2 based on the antenna that reads the tag. So in that case, what you do is actually name the antenna. So one antenna is in stockroom 1, one antenna is in stockroom 2. And once this reader starts powering up and reading tags, you know exactly which stockroom that item is in because it's sending that tag information along with the antenna name. So it's getting posted to your database. You can see that in the database and the location of where that tag happened to be. The other thing you can set here as well is this antenna power. So this will kind of give you a range of how far these antennas will read. At 30 here, this is max power, and it's going to give you the longest distance. But if you wanted more of like a contact type scan, you can lower that as well, so that the antennas aren't reading tags that are that far away. So you can kind of localize the scan that you're looking to capture, and you're not maybe overlapping different antennas. You're making sure that you're getting what's in that room and maybe not what's outside of that room. So you can control the power of the antennas there. On this other, I won't set these up because it'd be hard for you guys to see, but the output ports can be configured on this GPIO tab here. And this will allow you to power up like lights, buzzers, and things like that. If you wanted to do maybe validate that the reader is reading tags, you can have it flash a light when it starts reading tags. You can also set up some type of security situation where if a tag's going through a portal maybe that's not supposed to, you can power up a buzzer on the reader as well. So you can kind of have an audible alert that say, hey, these tags aren't supposed to be read going through this portal. So you can kind of configure that in the output settings here. I won't do that today, but that's where you would kind of configure this. On the device tab here, this is kind of an interesting feature in ClearStream. These tag reporting events up on the top, this allows you to control when and what tags or what events are sent to the destination. Now, by default, when a tag is read by the reader, that gets sent to the destination. So every time the reader sees that tag, it's going to send that to your database table, or it's going to send that to your Excel spreadsheet, and you're going to get that information. But there are really 3 events that happen on a reader when that tag is moving inside and out of range of the antennas. The first would be a new tag. So that's when a tag first comes into the field of view of the antenna and it's picked up by the reader. It's going to send that information to the destination. So in that case, it's set to immediate, and that means always send that tag event to the destination. I just read a new tag, send it to the destination, and post it maybe to my Excel spreadsheet. Tag invisible, which by default is off, that's when a tag goes outside of the field of view of the antenna. Now it's an interesting feature because you can report when a tag leaves the antenna. So you can get an event when it first comes in front of the antenna and then when it reads. So you can keep track. You get 2 tag events for that one tag, and you can kind of keep track of how long that antenna was in front of the reader, and then post a description of what happened with that tag. So it gives you a nice, easy way of capturing how long a tag is sitting in front of a reader, and you're only getting those events when you need them. So you get an event saying, hey, okay, the tag was first read by this reader, and then when it goes outside of the field of view, it's going to be reported to the destination as well. And you can go to your database table then or your Excel spreadsheet, and you can see when it first came into the field of view and when it went outside of the field of view. So you can see it was in front of that antenna for about 5 minutes, or whatever length of time it may have been. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the continuous mode here. These are kind of all the configuration options you have available with the fixed RFID reader, really controlling how the reader's actively scanning for tags, when it's powered up, and things like that. So you'd configure that all there. So now I'm going to actually just go ahead and start this again. Power this back up and start actively reading for tags. This will go ahead and power up the reader. And as long as I have my tags in front of the reader over there, it'll start reading tags, and it's sending those tags to the destination. So as they're read, I can refresh my list here, and you can see now in the access database, you can see since I configured the antenna with that particular name, now I can see that this item was scanned in stockroom 1 with the reader name I've still left as the fixed RFID reader here. But if I had a second antenna and that tag went in front of a different antenna, you would see now it would be in stockroom 2. You'd see that new location. Okay, so actually as I refresh this, as some of these tags are reread, you can see the date timestamp update to my incorrect date time at apparently almost 30 in the afternoon. But you can see those date timestamps as they're updated to the destination. Okay, so that's all I wanted to show you for the setup of ClearStream RFID. It's a pretty easy to use setup. You're really just marrying up a fixed RFID reader to a destination where you'd like those tags to go, and then you're configuring things like how the reader's reading, when it's reading, and how it's updating the destination. And it really allows you to quickly and easily see how that fixed RFID reader can start sending data into maybe a pre-existing database you have. So again, this is just a sample access database that we provide, but ClearStream allows you to marry up the fixed RFID readers into any ODBC Excel spreadsheet or text file system that you maybe already have. So if you had something that was built on top of Oracle or MySQL or SQL Server or something like that, you can hook up a fixed RFID reader for a passive way of scanning these tags and sending that information into that existing database. Okay, so now for some exciting stuff I did want to show today, give us kind of a sneak peek of something that we're working on here at PTS, of a way to kind of show how ClearStream works, to visually see how it works in a virtual environment, and not just going through based on hardware. So what I described today, this is showing you how actual tags will be read by a reader and sent into a destination database. But you guys, especially over this webinar, are missing out on the visualizing that, seeing the tags go from antenna 1 to antenna 2 and keeping track of that information in your database. So it's kind of something that we've wanted to kind of incorporate within ClearStream RFID as a way to show people how the application works, and also a side benefit, show them how they can set it up in their own environment and how it may work once it's completely configured, and even tie it into a pre-existing database. So what I'm going to show you here will kind of illustrate that idea, and hopefully it'll give you a better understanding of how the application works and how what I had just set up in the real ClearStream RFID works, and kind of describe it in a virtual way. So what I'm going to do here is I cleared out my access database again, so I'm back to kind of scratch here. I'm going to go ahead and close out of ClearStream. Now this, again, is in development, so bear with me if I do run into any issues as I'm setting this up. But I'm going to open up a different ClearStream build here. Okay, and I'm going to configure a new sync for you guys. So here, I'm going to start from scratch, basically from same configuration. I have, again, my source and my destination. But on the source side, it's going to change a little bit. I'm just going to select the emulated RFID. Okay, and this emulated RFID is going to be a reader that exists virtually in our environment here, so that we can see it working and sending tags from this fake RFID, this emulated RFID scanner, to our destination. The destination, I'm going to pick the same thing. Now this is the interesting thing here. With this virtual environment, you're able to hook these fake readers up to the a live database. So if you wanted to just see how it will work in the virtual environment, it'd be a very easy switch over, if everything is working the way you intend it to switch to an actual fixed RFID environment where you're just hooking up the readers and now switching them from, rather than an emulated RFID, you're going to the actual RFID reader that's in your environment. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select the same ClearStream RFID sample. I'm going to go to the tag list. The only thing I want to do here is make sure I get rid of this primary key. So again, I have these fields married up, the tag information, so the tag ID, antenna, and so on. I'm going to go ahead, I have to, in this case, put the reader ID here as 1. That's just kind of to hook it up. If you have multiple virtual RFID readers in the environment, this is just some identifier for each one that you have. I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of antennas. I'm going to do a stockroom 1 like we did before, and a stockroom 2. Okay, this hopefully will give you a visual as to how the example that I just set up, kind of with the real ClearStream RFID, would work in this virtual environment here. So I added 2 antennas to my fake emulated reader, and I have everything configured. Actually, I want to put the update here. I'm going to update this based on the tag ID. All right, so here we have everything configured. I'm going to save my environment, my setup here. I'm going to go over to the start-stop form, and at this point now, if you were in your real environment, you hit start and you'd start seeing the tags come across. But what I want to do is actually go up to the tools menu, and I'm going to open up this virtual site survey option. And what this does is it opens up a little designer so that you can build out the environment that you'd like to set up these fixed RFID readers in. So what I'm going to do is start building an environment that matches what we were just trying to set up within the within what I was describing before, where we have 2 stockrooms and say we want to keep track of whether or not an item's in stockroom 1 versus stockroom 2. So I'm going to really quickly just kind of drag and drop an environment here that maybe has 2 stockrooms. So I'll go ahead and design this. No one ever called me an architect, but here we have our 2 we have our two stock rooms, stockroom 1 and stockroom 2. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually add an RFID reader to this environment. Okay, and this RFID reader, now I'm going to have to add 2 antennas. So I'm going to go ahead and add some antennas to this. I'm going to hook one antenna up into stockroom 2. And I'm going to hook one antenna up into stockroom 1. Might have these antennas hooked up backwards, but you'll get the idea when this is running here. And then we'll neatly place our RFID reader against the wall there. Okay, so now this RFID reader has 2 antennas. One is in this stockroom over here, and one is in this stockroom over here. This little bullseye thing is where the antenna is aimed. So you're kind of dragging that out, and you'll see a kind of a description or a shape here as to the field of view of this antenna. Okay, now the last thing I want to do is actually add an item that we want to track in this environment. So I'm going to go ahead and put an item here. Now this is a tagged item. You have the ability to customize what this item is. It could be a pallet. It could be a fixed RFID asset. In this case, I'll just leave it as the default here, which is just a ClearStream box. And this has an RFID tag attached to it. You can also add additional tags to this box. So if this had like 50 items in there, you could put the 50 tags in there. Okay, but I have my environment set up, and what I want to do at this point is actually jump back over to the start-stop form, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit start. And what that does is now, rather than powering up the fixed RFID readers that are hooked up on our Ethernet network, it's actually powering up the readers in the virtual environment here. And you can go ahead and kind of adjust where these antennas are aimed and play with them so that you're kind of getting the space that you're intending in the real environment. Now, this here, if I were to drag this object into that field of view of the antenna, it's now going to actually be scanned by that antenna, and that information should get sent over to our database. So if I were to jump back to the Access database here and hit F5, you can see now it scanned that item and sent it to our stockroom, which is actually this one here. This might be a tag from our previous sample that I didn't update, so I'm going to delete that. This here is the tag that was scanned in the virtual environment. You can see it was scanned by antenna 1. It happened to have a perfect signal strength. And it also scanned the date time, which actually in this case is correct here. So you can see this tag ID, this item was scanned by antenna 1. So you can see that it was at that location. If I now go ahead back to the environment and take that item and put it into stockroom 2, I can now go back to the Access database, and if I open that up, you can see now it's at location 2 there. So if I move it back into the first pass here, you can see now it'll be located back into stockroom 1 based on that identifier by the antenna. So it gives you kind of a virtual way of setting up how these antennas and fixed RFIDs would work out in the field. And you can see that information updating directly into this real system here. So if this was an Oracle database that you wanted to hook up fixed RFID, you could hook it up that way. Just to show you some of the other things you can do here in the virtual environment, you can set up animations so that you can animate this and actually create kind of a movement of these items through a warehouse, maybe through different stockroom locations or things like that. This is set up to be cradle to grave. And as I add tag containers to this, they're going to move through the environment. Speed it up a little. They're going to move through the environment. Now, since I have this cradle to grave, it's actually creating items, and when they get to the ending point of the animation, they're going to disappear. So that's a useful thing if you wanted to maybe ship items out of a warehouse and you want to kind of simulate that in an environment. Once they get to the last stage of the animation, they're going to go ahead and disappear because they're outside of your facility now. They're no longer being scanned by these tags. But you can also set it up. Let's stop the animation here. We can add some additional areas maybe. We'll put it here. Move it back over here. But you can animate this environment so that it's moving through the different locations, and every time they're going through these locations, they're being scanned by the fixed reader. If I jump back over to the activity monitor here, when those go through the environments, maybe I'll try to get this so you guys can see that. when they go through the environment to see that here the packages are coming up to that location, you're going to see the activity here in ClearStream. And that is actually the tag information getting sent to the destination, to the database, so that you can keep track of that. So again, it's something we're working on here as a way to show how ClearStream works and how you can set up the application in a real environment. So you can customize what this floor space looks like. You can control where these antennas are aimed. And you can see from that, you can get a general idea of the read range of these antennas and how it's picking up those tags. And it will kind of show someone exactly how ClearStream is going to work when they set it up in their environment. Okay. So with that, I'll go ahead and close down everything. I'm going to power down my virtual readers and exit out of ClearStream. I'll jump back over to the PowerPoint. Before we get to question and answer, a couple things on the PowerPoint I have here. The supported fixed RFID readers. ClearStream 2.0 does support a number of different readers. You can see a list here, as well as really any reader that supports LLRP, which is kind of an industry standard for fixed RFID readers. If you don't see your manufacturer here, if it does support LLRP, ClearStream should be able to hook up to that reader and start sending that tag information to the destination. I'd also like to mention that we do have a limited number of ClearStream RFID kits. So if it's something you'd like to test in a real environment, reach out to your reseller or to us to see if we have anything available at this time that you could go ahead and set up in a real environment and see how ClearStream RFID works. And that really includes everything out of the box that you'd need to get up and running, fixed RFID reader, the antennas, the software, as well as even some sample tags. So you guys can see how that would all work in your environment. Okay. So with that, thanks you all again for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again on future webinars. And again, reach out to us with any other questions you may have. All right, thanks everyone. Bye-bye.